So, when I was in California just a couple of weeks ago, I stayed with a friend of mine who is a manager at Apple. And so we talked about all sorts of organizational and managerial kinds of stuff in addition to the Dharma. And she shared with me what is called the decision tree, the gift of autonomy. And it's a thing, I think she's the one who devised it, because she manages so many teams and sub-teams and whatever the names they have for this at Apple. And, people have to know what decisions they can make on their own, which ones they need to consult with somebody about, which ones they need to inform somebody of, which ones the larger group needs to, weigh in on, and so forth. So she drew this little tree, which I think is quite clever, actually. So there are leaf decisions, branch decisions, trunk decisions, and root decisions. Okay? So the branch decisions, so these are for the people who are mostly doing the hands-on work. Okay? So those are the kinds of decisions it's not just the people doing the hands-on work, it's any level, okay? But they can make the decision, act on it, and they don't need to report it to a higher up level, okay? And so this, what we'll do at the Abbey is we'll go through and each team will decide what are its leaf and branch and trunk and root decisions. And we'll decide it for the Abbey as a whole too. But that gives, if you know what the criteria are for the leaf decisions, then you can just go ahead and do something, and you don't need to consult somebody and send 10,000 emails and worry about if you're doing it right or wrong. You have the autonomy and the power just to make the decision and act on it, and you have no need to report it to anybody. Okay? So that would be like, what colored tablecloths do you want on the puja tables? Just really, just decide, put something in, okay? Then the branch decisions, so these are, again, going to be more important decisions. So they're ones where you can make the decision, act on it, but you have to inform the person higher, your team leader or whatever, okay? And then you decide how often you have to inform team leaders of these kind of decisions, if it's going to be when you do it, or every week, or every month, or however often, okay? Then the trunk decisions, so these are going to be things that are more important. So there you want to develop a well-formed opinion and decide how you'd like to proceed. So that means you need to do the research, okay? You don't email somebody else and ask them to do it. You don't email me and say, what do I do? You do the research, and you form a well-formed opinion or a bunch of different options, that you think are all legitimate, okay? And then she said, before socializing it with others, maybe before discussing it with others, okay, socializing, I imagine them sitting over drinks, an Apple talking about it. We don't do that. Okay, so before discussing it with others or taking action, then you seek the approval of your team leader. Okay, so you do the research, you form an idea or a few options, and then you consult the person who's your team leader, And that person may collaborate with you to refine whatever the decision was, to make sure it's appropriate. Then the root decisions, the next level up, here you take the first steps as a trunk decision. So you research it, you form a well-formed opinion or a set of options, and then the decision needs further, she put escalation, I would say, it means going up another level. So you would go to the harmonizers, or the harmonizers would come to me, something like that. And so on the trunk decisions, it needs like somebody else to look over it, or it needs the input from, either the community of fully ordained people or the whole community as a whole, or maybe, we need to consult out people outside the Abbey. So these would be major decisions. I mean, the root decisions, yeah. So, if we're going to build a temple, deciding what kind of nails to use would be the leaf decisions, okay? The branch decisions might be, working with the contractor over, things, practical things that need to be done that aren't going to have a long-term effect on the Abbey, okay, or on the building. The trunk decisions would be things that, you want to change the layout or change where things are going in a room or change materials, or there's a big hiccup, so those, then it needs to go up another level, and people need, you need to talk about that with another person. And then the root decisions are things like, are we going to build a temple? When are we going to build it? Who's going to be in charge of the different things that go on in building a temple? Okay, so those much more basic things. Okay, and so I just use that as an example, but there's zillions of decisions that need to be made here. And so I thought, when Tricia explained this to me, I thought, oh, this is really good, because then when it's laid out within each team, and it'll be a trial and error things, you lay it out and you're going to revise it and things like that. But then everybody has a degree of autonomy, and and they feel comfortable making the decisions that they make, and then they also know what things need to other people need to know, and other people need to have input on. Okay, so I asked Venerable Nima if she would kind of take the lead and meet with either the whole community or the team heads, however you want to do it. Looks like the team heads, and discuss how to do that, and then probably have the team heads introduce it to the teams who discuss, and then set up the criteria for each level here. And then that would be run by the harmonizers and then me. Okay? And I thought it would really simplify our organization, and help people do stuff. Okay? So that's why I asked that the people who aren't here today, that they listen to this or watch this BBC. Okay? So this is all in the process of our growing, why do we call it pains? Our growing glory. Yeah, because isn't it nice that the Abbey's growing, and so we've had to reorganize things and develop new systems. So it's, it's something to be rejoiced at. And okay, it's, different than it was before, but it'll be better as we get used to it. Clarity. Yeah, much more clarity. And more efficiency. And I can already see the change, I think.
Fail-safe guarantee that even whatever structure you put in place, mistakes are bound to happen.
Yeah.
And so I think if we all understand that, and become and practice compassion and fortitude and joyous effort, that even when we make mistakes, if those can be overcome, those can be corrected, learned from, and moved on. But sometimes the mere fear of making a mistake causes people to, behave in ways that are not productive for the organization.
Yeah.
And so,
or for them.
Or for them, right? Exactly. And so I think it's a process of being comfortable with uncertainty, which is a very Buddhist principle, and then to be able to accept that we are fallible, we're going to make mistakes, but if we, to some extent, rely on the structure has the ability to provide a context that is helpful in minimizing, not necessarily 100% avoiding, but minimizing the mistakes.
Yeah. And we're just practical, like you said. We know we're all going to make mistakes. So a mistake gets made. Yes, what else is new? Yeah, let's deal with it and go on. Yeah. But I agree with you. Sometimes people are so worried about, am I doing it right? What if I make a mistake? That then, they don't do anything. Yeah. Or they have very good ideas, but they don't want to look foolish, so they keep all their good ideas inside. Yeah. But I think here, especially in a monastic situation, where we know that everybody who lives here is working on their mind, then I think we can give people a little bit extra trust. Like, okay, they might for a moment think this is stupid, but probably not, Or for a moment, I might be embarrassed for making a mistake, but these people are, they understand this kind of thing. Yeah. So to alleviate the anxiety. Yeah. So, people are going to wonder, oh, she's been talking about social issues. Then today she's talking about our organizational structure. How about talking about the Dharma? And I think all these things relate to the Dharma, because if we can have organizational structures and if we can work out social issues well, then people create much less negative karma, so they have it better for them, at the time of death, less regret, less fear. They're going to have better rebirths. So I see doing all these kinds of things as definitely related to Dharma and to working to benefit sentient beings. Because at the bottom line, before we can help people get to liberation and enlightenment, we have to help them create less negative karma and more virtuous karma. Yeah, so that's how all of this fits into the Dharma.